Back in 2021, Dune was one of the film industry's biggest hits in a year scarred by the pandemic. People returned to theaters in droves, amassing an impressive $430 million and winning 6 Oscars for its technical aspects. Beyond its success, both at the box office and critically, there was some division over Dune, as some found it too boring, while others ranked it as one of the best science fiction films. Well, now, both sides agree that the sequel is a true masterpiece. Hey guys, welcome back to the Replay Media. Today, we'll talk a bit about the massive success of Dune Part II, a film that has fulfilled all the expectations set by its predecessor. Some moviegoers even call it the biggest cinematic phenomenon since the first Star Wars trilogy and The Lord of the Rings. It is undeniable that Denis Villeneuve and his talented cast led by Timothée Chalamet are making history with this film. But since it is an adaptation of a very complex book saga, some fans were left with doubts after watching it. One of the most popular is the peculiar black and white color of Giedi Prime, the home planet of House Harkonnen, the family of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and Feyd-Rautha, Austin Butler's character and one of the new faces of the sequel. While it's a visually stunning scene, many wonder why they chose those colors, as the black and white style belongs to more classic genres. Without further ado, and any relevant spoilers, let's find out. Feyd-Rautha's intro sequence is set in a world bathed by a black sun, and in the purest Roman Colosseum style, Butler's character duels his opponents under the watchful eye of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen and Lady Margot Fenring, a member of the Bene Gesserit. Beyond the dramatic weight of the scene, the most striking thing is its monochromatic color palette, creating a unique and distinctive atmosphere that contrasts with the vibrant colors of the other world shown in the film. This differs from the first movie, in which we had a few glimpses of Giedi Prime, and while it was a fairly dark world, it didn't have that color palette. This visual choice is not merely decorative, but goes far beyond that. It is almost an extension of the psyche of the characters that inhabit Giedi Prime, especially House Harkonnen. This sequence, captured through an Arri Alexa LF IMAX camera modified for infrared, offers a captivating and distinct vision that sets the tone for the presentation of the Harkonnen as the undisputed villains of the story. The choice to film in this manner is to show a world that visually encapsulates the alienation and isolation of its citizens. In an interview with Moviefone, Villeneuve himself explained in more detail the visual aspect of this planet. The idea came from the book. One of the aspects that I love in the book is the idea that the book is a study of the impact of the ecosystem on human beings, all from the nature of the ecosystem, the human developed religions, techniques, and ways of survival, all their culture. We are the product of our environment. And when you want to know about the Fremen, you just look at the desert, and it will inform you about the native people. As we know, the Fremen have adapted to the inhospitable environment of Arrakis, composed of a vast desert and mountain ranges where you can also find gigantic sandworms. However, the home of the Harkonnen is quite different. For Giedi Prime, the home world of Harkonnen, there's less information in the book, and it's a world that is disconnected from nature. It's a plastic world. So I thought that it could be interesting if the sunlight, could give us some insight on their psyche. What if instead of revealing colors, the sunlight was killing them and creating a very eerie black and white world? That will give us information about how these people perceive reality, about their political system, about that primitive brutalist culture, and it was in the screenplay. Those were the words of Villeneuve, who was inspired by the source material of Frank Herbert's book to create something new in accordance with his cinematic universe. Villeneuve pushed the boundaries of visual storytelling alongside the director of photography, Greg Fraser, who won an Oscar for Best Cinematography for Dune Part I. They experimented with infrared photography, capturing a sunlight never before seen on film, as it differs quite a bit from traditional black and white. The decision indeed had its risks. Once you commit to black and white, there's no turning back. But sometimes the boldest choices produce the most memorable cinematic experiences. Without a doubt, the Giedi Prime scene is one of those experiences. And if you add to that a rage-filled Austin Butler, you have the best introduction for an antagonist. Feyd-Rautha, Baron Harkonnen's youngest nephew, is the perfect product of his environment. He is strong, cruel, and merciless, anti-values that are represented by the grim color of his planet. It is a color as dead as the moral compass of its inhabitants. They only want to see the color of red, which is funny because they can't see the color red. You definitely don't want to be in a place like that. But the scene is so strangely fascinating that you can't stop watching it. Also, Feyd-Rautha's brutality goes beyond his nature. He was chosen as the successor to extract spice, Arrakis' most valuable resource, so he has to prove he can deal with the threat of the Fremen, who have Paul Atreides in their ranks. In its own way, the introduction of the villain works to set up the battle between hero and villain. The devil of the Harkonnen versus the Messiah of the Fremen. Who will win? You must see Dune Part II. And after this unpaid promotion, we reach the end of this video. Dune Part II has so many fascinating details and theories about its universe that we could go on for hours just to cover everything. Still, I hope this video has helped you understand the monochromatic style of the Harkonnen's planet, which highlights the natural cruelty of its environment. I mean, if I lived on a planet with a sun that absorbs almost every color, I'd be pretty angry too. Jokes aside, we must thank Villeneuve, the cast, the production team, Warner Brothers, and everyone responsible for this work of art. It's not just a milestone in the sci-fi genre, it's a celebration of cinema, and that will always be a victory.